Hey everybody, it's episode 369 of PodQuest.
Hey!
It's Wednesday, September 8th, 2021. I am Chris. With me is Druten.
Hello.
And Walnut.
Hi.
How you guys doing?
Oh, not too bad.
After fighting a sinus infection for a few weeks, I got a cold. So...
Oh, did you really go from one to the other?
Essentially, yeah. It's literally the past two sessions, the one that's just finishing up with, session 51.3, or session 51 of Brose, and session 52 of Brose. Both, I am not drinking because I am sick. So it was like within weeks apart of each other. We recorded Brose last Friday.
I mean, yeah. Or you could have just drank extra and just killed everything inside of you. That's how that works,
I mean,
right?
I did drink extra, but it was like hot tea and water and green tea and like I had like 6 different drinks in front of me, but none of them were alcoholic.
Yeah, no. Like instead of drinking wine, you should have just been drinking like straight shots of like vodka or something.
No. That's just my God.
Do they still sell 151? Is that still a thing?
Probably. I don't know.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, just get like a bottle of 151. Just put like a baby bottle top on it and just go for it.
I mean, that could work.
Sorry, the dogs are barking.
And you always complain about Chase. He's a good boy.
I think it might be Erica coming home. I'm going to close the door over. Hang on.
I think he forgot about us.
He might have.
Okay, that makes sense. So this is PodQuest without Cobb. How you guys doing? How you doing, Jordan?
I really cannot complain today, honestly.
No?
Nope.
It's times like this when someone's not here is when you talk bad about them. Or talk good about them, whichever one you prefer. But then once they show up, you do the opposite. So, you don't have anything good or bad to say about Cobb?
I mean, you didn't ask me my thoughts about Cobb. You asked me how I was doing.
Well, if he's not here, since he's not here, what are your thoughts about Cobb?
Man, he's such a pain in the ass, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's definitely the worst.
I agree.
Oh, Cobb! Hey, we were just saying good things about you.
Sure, I'm just going to edit that a little bit so that it just sounds like Drew is saying that you're a pain in the ass. It'll be fine.
That's fine. That's fine. That'll be the most production value ever done on this show.
Hey, I'll have you know, I go and clip out all of your bullshit weird noises every episode.
Yeah, I mean, they're not my weird noises.
No, it's all of our weird noises. Weird mouth noises. Just because your microphone picks up the tiniest fucking thing. Sometimes if you scroll really fast, I can hear the clicking of the mouse wheel. It's really funny. And you can tell you're trying to get to the bottom of something, and it's not just you're slowly scrolling down the outline. Because it'll be this very aggressive scroll. You're just trying to find out what the last thing on a page is real quick.
It could also be that this is a 75-year-old mouse. Just is really loud.
Wait, you bought a fancy new PC and you didn't buy a fancy keyboard and mouse to go with it?
No, I spent $2,000 on my fucking PC. What kind of money do you think I'd have for a mouse and PC? Or for a mouse and keyboard?
I spent $140 on a new keyboard and mouse.
I mean, give me some time. I do plan on getting a new keyboard and mouse.
You need to get one of those fancy FPS mouses with the weights in it and stuff so that you can
And you want me to get a mechanical keyboard so that it's even louder when we're doing
Oh, yeah, no, definitely not. Because your microphone already picks up everything. We wouldn't be able to hear you talking over the clickety clacks.
You want to hear the clack 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 clack.
The Logitech G604 was on sale a few weeks ago for almost half price. It was maybe it was 40% off. It was 65 instead of 100, something like that. So you know how scroll wheels normally click? It has a button to switch it to just let it free spin. It's weird. It's weird. Because every once in a while I'll accidentally hit it and then be why the fuck did that just go? And I was oh, I hit the lock. That's what I hit.
My mouse has a button that makes the cursor move faster.
Yeah, this has it has up and down for DPI.
No, unfortunately, I wish it had that. It just has a button that it's got 2 or 3 settings where the default one is a pretty regular move, and then the next one it kind of goes from one side of the screen to the other in the blink of the eye, and then the last setting I just lose track of it. I can't actually watch it move too fast.
Mm-hmm. Mine has a scroll wheel and 2 buttons for where your normal buttons are.
Well, you also have you probably have the button for the scroll wheel too.
I mean, yeah, the scroll wheel clicks in.
So there you go. You have 3 buttons on that mouse.
Yeah, It's fancy. Like I said, it's like 10, 12 years old, something like that.
I haven't had other than the mouse for my Mac, which the top of it's a touchscreen and that thing is amazing. Every mouse I've had for the last like 20 years has had at least like the 2 side buttons for like back and forward in like web browsers.
Yeah.
I've never used them for anything other than back and forward, so I'm not really sure what other people do with them.
I mean, people probably use them for gaming. Like you could probably set like switching, like changing your loadouts or changing weapons differently. Or
I
like
probably should have done that when I tried Diablo. Like set like the abilities to that instead of the F keys. That would have made more sense.
Yeah. Or like maybe like set to use grenades instead of having to reach over and press like G or whatever button.
Diablo doesn't have grenades.
I'm just talking about other games.
Here's what I use those in Diablo 2, because I don't know that you can use them to like set skills on, but I would have the one be toggle run walk when you have to actually bother with that at the beginning of the game. And then the other was the toggle showing items on the ground.
That's not a bad idea. Yeah. And I think you're right. I don't think you can map like the ability swap to anything other than the F key.
Well, once you set them to the F keys, you can use the scroll wheel to scroll through the ones you have assigned.
Oh, yeah, no, I know that. But it's honestly, easier when you're in the middle of something and you're trying to just quickly change to it, to just, if you know what button it's assigned to just swap between it.
True.
Because otherwise, like, especially when in the early game, which is all I really played, trying to remember what order things came up in is a little tougher.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it's not on the first one already. It's like, oh shit, what number is that on? 3? Shit, where do I need to go?
Mm-hmm.
But I digress. Oh, Rich.
Yes.
What's on the agenda for tonight?
So we are going to talk about Star Wars High Republic stuff real quick, because it's on there. There is something special going on with AEW pay-per-view this past weekend or something like that, with a CM Punk and I don't know who else. A Jericho, I think.
All the people.
I think. Then Sony decided that they were wrong. And so we're going to talk about what they did with Horizon Forbidden West and how they were wrong. Cobb, you played some Psychonauts 2. I played on stream last night Surviving Mars, as well as the original Metroid last week that we're going to talk about a little bit. And then, Cobb, you watched an anime called Eden Zero. At least 2 of us listened to the recent Reply All podcast where they talked about Team Fortress 2. I don't know if Druten had it too.
I did.
Oh, great. So all 3 of us. So it's going to have a little conversation. And of course, in normal PodQuest fashion, there is a PlayStation thing tomorrow that we're not going to talk about.
But Drew and I will talk about that next week.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you missed the Shang-Chi thing. Because you watched that too, didn't you?
Oh, you know what? I kind of breezed right by that because my eyes just don't work. Yeah, and me and Cobb saw Shang-Chi this weekend, and we're going to talk about that a bit. So a pretty stacked episode we've got going on here.
Yeah, we'll see how long this actually takes.
Yeah. Let's get done by 8 so I can get on stream on time.
9:30, here we come.
Man, just don't stream on Wednesdays.
Man, then that means I have to stream on Fridays?
Yeah.
Or Saturdays, I can't stream on Fridays.
The fuck not?
Because I play games with people who don't want to be on stream on Fridays.
Get better
Tell
friends.
them to suck it the fuck up.
I don't want my name on there. I don't want you using my... What if I say something? Okay, don't say something.
You
don't
have 2
be
viewers.
Shitty. But it's not even don't be shitty. It's like, who the fuck is gonna... Like, yeah, I have 2 viewers. Like... I can call you by your first name as long as I don't say your first and last name and where you fucking live. No one knows who the fuck you are or cares.
Mm-hmm.
And
frankly, they can probably just I could probably look up their name if you just told it to me, or if do they play online games?
They do.
Then their names everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but it's also that's generally when we play D&D. So
I mean that's fair.
And then Saturdays and Sundays I just don't want to. I can't do Saturdays because it's when I play more D&D, as well as when we get back with the other group with D&D. And Mondays through Thursdays are the best times for me.
Maybe don't play so much D&D.
Or stream D&D.
Or
stream just your side of D&D, because that would be hilarious.
Or don't forget to check out Bonus Action, the Tabletop Podcast. It's going to be coming out within the next couple of months. Within the next probably month or so.
Yeah, it'll be sometime in October, since we're going to record the first batch in, what, I guess a week and a half?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
High Republic is a thing that's happening in Star Wars right now.
What?
So what is this?
All right, so they launched it back in January. It's 200. I think I talked about this briefly a while ago. It's 200 years prior to the movies.
Okay.
So it's what's considered so you had like the Old Republic with like Knights of the Old Republic, which was like 2,000 years prior to the movies.
Sounds right.
Then you have the Fall of the Republic, which is the prequel era. You have the Rebellion era, which is the original trilogy.
Right.
And then I don't know what they're actually calling the sequel era, but like you have that. So now they've started expanding into what they're calling the High Republic era, which is long enough ago that like the characters that you're familiar with don't exist anymore. But most of the concepts are already. Yoda has been mentioned a bunch, and there is a comic with him in it, but like he's really the only character that's like kind of alive and well known at that point.
Makes sense.
So right now it's a bunch of different books. There have been 2 of the like adult grade, whatever you want to call them, novels, like the 300-400 page books.
Okay.
Plus like a smattering of young adult and YA, or I'm sorry, not YA, young adult, and then whatever's considered underneath that, like the Goosebump size books, like 120 pages, like for like a 10-year-old or whatever. And then like the 200-ish page ones that are meant for like your 15, 16-year-olds. And then they have a couple comic book series. They have just the High Republic, which is running at Marvel. And they have another one that's High Republic Adventures. That's an IDW, geared more at kids. Like it's actually following a group of Padawans and stuff like that. So it's really meant for like your younger readers.
Okay.
But the thing I want to talk about is how well they're doing with interconnecting them all. Even across like the different mediums. So I've read the two regular adult novels, and I've been reading the comic, the High Republic. I dropped the High Republic Adventures because it was just it was boring. Like it's very, like I said, it's kid oriented.
Gotcha. But
so it's not Jedi versus Sith. There is this separate, basically criminal empire that's out there right now. That they're essentially pirates. But they're pirates that actually have better tech than the Republic does.
Okay.
So you're in like modern Star Wars that you're used to, you know, like they just like punch in like a hyperspace thing and they just fucking book it to wherever they're going.
Right.
Yeah.
At this point in history, they don't have all that stuff like figured out as well as they do yet. And this pirate group actually has somebody that they're controlling that has this weird connection with it that can just find new paths to places in hyperspace that they're not charted, they're completely off the track, they can't be traced or anything through it. And it's basically what they use in modern day Star Wars to travel.
Yeah.
So they just kind of like pop in and out of places like it's nothing. And just they literally pop in unexpected, ransack a bunch of stuff, and then pop out. Meanwhile, the Republic itself is still actually growing. They're actually working towards like moving out into the frontier, like your Tatooines and stuff like that, like the Outer Rim, as it's called in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And the first novel is all about a disaster that happens. This is also the era we're back to the stuff that like it's what they used to heal people. It's in Empire Strikes Back. That's Luke when he gets back from being lost out in the ice. That big tank he's in, where he's kind of like convulsing a little bit and stuff.
Right. Right. Okay.
That's a Bacta tank. It's some sort of like miracle drug that's grown on this one specific planet's moon that just has like really good healing properties to it. So the first novel focuses on something that happens there where one of these pirates actually collides with another ship in hyperspace, which theoretically isn't possible. And it causes this freighter to explode and just start spewing giant chunks of itself going at light speed and then dropping out of light speed and bombarding planets and stuff like that, and actually destroying planets. It's essentially what happened to like Earth with the dinosaurs, like a giant meteor hitting a planet and just causing catastrophic damage. That's what's happening here. It's just slightly smaller pieces, but going at such high velocity that it's just destroying ships and planets and everything. And all of that stuff ties directly into the early part of the comic series, where the comic series picks up after that has finished and focuses on characters that were around for that. Not necessarily the primary characters from that book, but characters that were mentioned as doing stuff in that book, so that you were then seeing sort of what happened to them afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And then as that comic book went on, they started dealing with this sentient plant thing that had some sort of connection to the Force and was taking over species on, like, just across the galaxy. And that actually directly led into the second novel that came out in June, where, like, that novel, like, it didn't have them necessarily, like, fighting those plants because they were busy doing that in the comics. But it had, you know, references to, like, oh, all these other characters are actually busy over here. That's why none of them can help. And then you guys both played Knights of the Old Republic, right?
Yeah.
Right. So do you remember Bastila in that game?
Yeah. She had the power, the Jedi power to, like, command armies and
Exactly. She had that, like, Force link where she could just link everybody up. It was called Battle Meditation.
Yeah.
So one of the characters that is in both the books and the comic, she's a Jedi Master that has a similar ability to that, where she can create a hive mind, essentially, between all of the Jedi, and allows them to basically do things that they wouldn't normally be able to do on their own, like between coordination and just, like, immersion in the Force. So there's a bunch of instances in the second book where, like, it's like, oh, if she was here, like, she'd be able to help, but, like, oh, she's not here because she's off dealing with this thing happening with these plants. And what was cool is I was actually reading the novel up until, like, a week or so ago. Like, I had just finished it. And at one point I'm reading the novel, and it just got to a part where they were having this fair, and the fair was being attacked by the pirates. And that issue of the comic that came out actually ended with that, where it's like, they just finished dealing with these plants, and the last page is just like, all Jedi respond, like, I forget, like, the Republic Fair has been destroyed or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it was just very cool to see how much they're, like, interlinking these stories, where you don't have to read all of them. Like, you don't have to be reading the books and the comics. But if you are, you're getting, like, two parts of the same story and seeing characters kind of drift from, like, one book into the next book and, like, back and forth. And it's just, it's very cool, because even, so the way that the second novel ends, where the Chancellor of the Republic basically asks the Jedi to, like, get legitimately involved and go find these pirates and get rid of them. Because, like, at this point, they have caused millions of deaths between the first thing they did and then attacking this fair. So the next arc in the comic literally picks up with, like, a mission of the Jedi trying to do that, and with one of the main characters from the book in the comic for the first time talking to the other Jedi, like, telling them, like, what their mission is.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's really good storytelling for a franchise that, you know, the last few movies, not very good storytelling.
No.
Like,
no, not really.
Yeah,
I
like,
mean,
whether you like the movies, like, the individual movies is fine, but, like, those sequel movies, there was no cohesive story between the three of them, because you had a bunch of different people making them. Like, there was no one person kind of involved with all three movies, so they were all just, one guy set something up, the next guy didn't like that, so he wanted to do his own thing, and then the first guy came back and is like, okay, well, I don't want to do that, so I'm going to go back to my thing.
Yeah, this is why you can't treat movies as comic books.
But so, they're literally doing this between different mediums with totally different, and you figure, like, a comic book gets written, let's say, 6 months out. Like, the writer is, like, and that's being generous, that the writer is 6 issues ahead. It's probably less. And, I mean, a novel's probably a year, give or take, because, you know, it's got to go through multiple iterations, it's got to be approved by Lucas and everything. So the fact that, like, they actually have their publishing side that's doing, like, the novels, I forget who actually publishes the Star Wars novels, and then you have Marvel, and all those editorial teams are actually, like, doing something cohesive where there's no giant holes in either side. Like, they're telling their own stories, but they're keeping them connected. They're keeping the plots, like, relevant to each other. And it's funny to see that be able to happen. And it's also just very good. Like, they're doing a very good job with this High Republic stuff. And I kind of hope that we get some like, multimedia entertainment out of it. Like, I doubt they'll ever do a movie, but, like, maybe, like, a Clone Wars style, like, animated series or something, especially since, what is that one that just came out, Rich? On Disney Plus.
Oh, the Bad Batch.
Yeah, that seemed to actually do fairly well for them. So like, it'd be nice to see them go back further and explore this era. And I think one or both of you have said before that like you'd like to see like stuff taking place away from the Jedi, or not the Jedi, but from the Skywalker.
Yeah, I'm over the Skywalker saga. I'm over the Skywalker. I'm over this whole era. Like even with Solo, like Solo and Rogue One were like departures from that, because although Solo had Han Solo, it didn't really deal with major characters. Solo was something different than the Han Solo we actually know and love, and so I want more of the galaxy, because there's a whole fucking galaxy. Why do we always see these same 15 people? Like, give me more. And so like something like this sounds awesome, like something back, even if it's 200 years in the past. Like, it sounds like something I would definitely love to get into, read, or watch, or whatever. But I do just really want Knights of the Old Republic to be canon, and that's probably not so.
No, I mean, definitely, that's definitely not going to be canon anymore. But I think what they're doing with the High Republic, if it keeps doing well, because, I mean, they have a ton more content planned out for it. Like, I think the third, like, adult novel comes out in January or February. And there's a bunch of, like, other, like, YA and children's books and comics and stuff still. That, like, if it keeps doing well, like, I don't see why they wouldn't try to do more with it, whether it's an animated show or, like, a game. Probably not a game, because it seems like the only games they want to make now are games that are literally about that movie era.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer, but at least they're trying something different in some demographic.
Yeah, and it's nice to see that they're trying to branch out from the known.
Yeah, and they're adding neat concepts to it, like the Jedi having very particular types of ships that they fly that are. It's like in all the other stuff, you never really see the Jedi, like, they're just in regular ass ships, like when they're like flying like they're fighters. In these books, at this point, like 200 years ago, they had fighters that only Jedis could fly. Like their entire weapon system was based on a lightsaber. Like, they had to actually insert their lightsaber because it was powered off the kyber crystal.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and they didn't have astromechs for anything. They did. I don't know if you guys remember from, I want to say it was episode 2, that ring thing that Obi-Wan had to dock his ship in for hyper space travel. They do,
because that was a Jedi ship. Like, that was...
Yeah, but it's still, like, they had an astromech, and it was just, like, the insides were just a regular ship. Like, there was nothing special about it, per se.
Yeah.
These ones are, like, they still have those frames for hyperspace travel, but, like, from the way they describe it in the book, like, all of the instruments and stuff are scaled back. Like, it's meant to be flown with the Force, essentially. Like, which is, it's just neat concepts that they're kind of digging into that they never do with any of the modern stuff, because all the modern stuff is like, oh, well, this is a war and the Jedi are falling, because at this point the Jedi basically suck.
Yeah.
Because, like, in the fall of the Republic era, like, the Jedi are kind of shitty. There's like a handful of good ones and everyone else sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Anyway, Drew, how was this wrestling stuff over the weekend?
It was fucking wild. Granted, a little bit of it was expected, but there was a bit of unexpected as well. So AEW had their 2021 edition of All Out, which seems to basically be like their WrestleMania. It's like their big main thing where, like, the new stuff is probably going to be happening every year. Lots of matches. Another Young Bucks versus Lucha Brothers match that was just amazing.
That was the ladder match, and what you made. Okay, just making sure.
Yep. Kenny Omega retaining his world championship, and then there were 3 new debuts for the company during the show. During the women's casino battle royal, Ruby Soho, who most recently was in WWE as Ruby Riott, made her debut. And yes, she's using the Rancid song Ruby Soho for her entrance music.
Oh, nice.
She couldn't use anything.
Well, apparently, I think it was one of the guitar players for Rancid is a huge wrestling fan and actually reached out to her to be like, change your name to Ruby Soho and you can take our song.
I wonder if that was Tim Armstrong. Because he
I
is
believe so.
the lead singer and guitarist of Rancid.
I'm trying to remember who said that, but that name sounds right. So yeah, like not surprising. Like it seems like some of the wrestlers, as they've left WWE, have been kind of keeping part of their WWE name, but then WWE usually has a trademark on the whole name. So like I said, WWE has trademark on Ruby Riott, but not Ruby Soho. So
okay. So real quick, I looked it up. It wasn't Tim. It was Lars, who is the other guitarist on there.
Okay.
But his Wikipedia actually says he's a longtime wrestling fan. He's friends with CM Punk and was in the WWE documentary CM Punk Best in the World.
Okay.
And then he, during an appearance on the Wrestling Perspective podcast, he suggested to Ruby Riott she should use the ring name Ruby Soho and assured her that he could also have the song cleared legally for her to use as her entrance.
There you go. So she debuted during that match. She was the Joker, the last person to come out, which was also...
Wait, what is that? What does that mean, the Joker?
So for how they do basically it's like their Royal Rumble, but instead of having people come out one at a time, because the first time they did it was at their Double or Nothing, like casino-themed pay-per-view, they had people draw cards, and they have 5 people per suit of cards, and so they show a suit, and the first 5 people come out. Then after 3 minutes or whatever it is, another suit is revealed, and the 5 people who were in that suit of cards all come out like at the same time. And then there's one 21st person who is the Joker, who comes out last.
So I haven't seen a Royal Rumble in 25 years. Does WWE, they do it like it's every like 30 seconds, right? Or 60 seconds or something like that. Somebody comes out.
60 or 90, they keep changing it, but I want to say it's settled on 90 seconds at this point. But
so when somebody comes out, like the first person, do they send out 2 people back to back, or does the first person just stand in the ring for a minute by themselves?
No, yeah, they do send out number 1 and 2 start the match for the Royal Rumble. So like being number 1 is really no different than being number 2.
Okay.
So, but yeah, they send 2 people out right away.
And then AEW is just like, here's like 5 people at a time. Fucking go for it.
Yeah. Which, like, I don't know. I like the way the Royal Rumble does it because each person gets their entrance music. You get that little of, oh, who's it going to be? And then their music starts and it's like, oh my god, it's this person. Or, wait, whose music is that? Oh, look, it's this new person. Whatever.
Because that's when you get like the reveals of like old people coming back or stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. But there is something to be said for doing it this way that kind of speeds things up. And I forget if it was on the Powerbomb cast or one of the other review shows I watched. Someone made the point, like, it seems like they've changed, and originally when they were doing them had the most important person of the 5 coming out last, and now they've kind of put that person first. So, like, their music starts and they come out to the ring, but then, the next 4 people are basically right behind them. So that's a little better, because that way, at least, like, camera goes, sees the first person, then cuts back to the ring as the other people just pile in. But then Kenny Omega had his match and retained his title at the end, and they're beating up Christian Cage, the Christian from WWE, Edge's old tag team partner. And Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus try to come out and make a save, but there's too many, get beat down. Kenny is cutting his promo and is like, you think anyone could beat me? The only people who could beat me aren't here, have already retired, or are already dead. And the lights cut out, and Adam Cole, whose contract literally expired a week ago with WWE, shows up, and the already dead being a reference to on their Being the Elite show that they've been doing for years. When Adam Cole left Ring of Honor to go to WWE, they killed him off on the show. So, like...
Really?
Yeah, they poisoned his can of Monster, and he died. So...
Of course they did.
So, Kenny says that, like, go out, Adam Cole comes out, crowd goes fucking crazy, and it looks like Adam Cole's gonna attack Kenny Omega, but then Jungle Boy is, like, pulling himself up by the ropes, and Adam Cole super kicks Jungle Boy, and they all celebrate, and Kenny Omega's like, you thought he was really gonna fight me? We're best friends. Like, we love him. And then starts to do his goodbye and goodnight, and then Flight of the Valkyries starts, and here comes Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan in WWE, and he starts fighting Kenny Omega, and it's like, oh, okay.
So was that a big surprise too?
He's about the same time CM Punk signing rumors were out. Rumors for Daniel Bryan signing had come out, but the talk was he was going to be debuting in New York. They have a show at Arthur Ashe Stadium coming up, and that was the rumor when Bryan Danielson was going to debut. So it was a little bit of a surprise, but not a crazy surprise. Cole was the more surprising, because all the talk had been like he's going to kind of sit around and see what kind of offers he gets, but his girlfriend works for AEW, so it's not surprising he went there.
Is she a wrestler also?
Yeah. She's actually the women's champion right now. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. She's an actual dentist.
Really?
Yeah, she still is actively performing dentistry in Orlando when they're not on the road. Apparently, her dental office has gotten super busy in the last year.
Not surprised.
I
figured she would probably have been the head dentist for the AEW, fighting and knocking probably.
I'm sure she's done work on plenty of the wrestlers there that have needed it. But that, and like I said, Adam Cole is legitimately super good friends with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, and it's like, yeah, of course he was gonna go there. And there's kind of rumor that WWE might have really lost him by saying you got to shut down your Twitch stream if you resign, and he was like, fuck that, I'd like my Twitch stream.
Oh, right, because
really?
WWE is super controlling about that stuff.
Yeah.
This is why I'm glad when you chose for us to watch wrestling, you chose AEW, because I would have refused to watch anything WWE. They're a shitty company to begin with, and then hearing something like this, where it's a non-competitive, like, nowhere near a competition. Like,
no.
It's a fucking Twitch stream, which,
exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure he gets a lot of viewers because of wrestling, but, like, he's not doing a Twitch stream where they wrestle. He's probably a talk stream or a video game stream.
Yeah, like he plays games. Like,
yeah, like it's a non-competitive thing. Why not just let him fucking do it?
Well,
next they're gonna say they can't be on, like, Twitter or Facebook.
Well, isn't that why Xavier Woods does, like, up, down, down? Because, like, it is owned by WWE, so, like, he doesn't get, like, shit for it because he's doing it for the company?
Yeah. Although, boy, would I not be shocked if at some point Woods is like, well, I want to just go do the Twitch thing more legit for myself, not for you. Because, like, now half of the main crew he did shit with on there is gone. Has been fired.
Wait, are the other two guys in the New Day gone?
No, but they really weren't on those streams with them. Like, they'll be on there every now and then, but, like, the main 4 people that would be on his YouTube channel were him, Adam Cole, Tyler Breeze, who those 2 are gone, and then Cesaro. Like, those 4 are, like, they call themselves the Party, and most of the stuff is the 4 of them.
Okay. You know what it is? I have seen Dan Reichert post stuff. I think the New Day does a podcast, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I think that might be what I was thinking of.
Yeah. Though someone was saying, oh boy, what if the New Day goes to fucking AEW when their contracts are up to finally get the New Day Young Bucks matches? And it's like, oh, please? Can that happen?
I mean, are there any other, like, big names at WWE that you could, like, realistically see going over there, like, when their contracts are up?
Kevin Owens is probably the other big one right now, because he's another one that is super tight with the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks, Adam Cole and Kevin Owens, when he was Kevin Steen, were, like, at one point a group calling themselves Mount Rushmore. And Owens recently tweeted, I think it was a tweet that was the latitude and longitude coordinates of Mount Rushmore. and then news has come out that his contract expires sooner than people think, and I would not be shocked at all to see him go. But after that, like, I don't legitimately see the New Day going, but they've long had a feud with the Young Bucks on Twitter, so it certainly could happen. At least Woods.
And I know Woods has like that like friendly rivalry with games with Kenny Omega too.
Yeah.
Like they did stuff at not Evo, the other fighting game thing, the one in CES. Is that what it is? The one in Florida? CEO. Right, CES is the electronics show.
Yeah. AEW, their first year, did a event like tied with CEO that year.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So you don't think like a John Cena is going to go to AWE though?
No, not Cena. Like really, kind of any of the other big names left in WWE, I don't ever see going to AEW.
They probably just make too much money. Like their contracts are probably for just stupid money at that point.
Yeah, and also just like a little bit of a why. Like why would they go there at that point in their career? Like Randy Orton, he has no reason to go to AEW, really. But yeah, I don't know. But it's definitely been the most fun few weeks in wrestling in a long time. Like, Punk's match was good. It was what you would expect.
Oh, right, that was like the big thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was what you would expect for a guy who hasn't wrestled in 7 years. Like, it wasn't phenomenal, but it was not bad. And it had the perfect mix of letting Darby Allin look really strong, but then still losing because it's CM fucking Punk. Like, of course Punk's gonna win his first match, but it wasn't like a 2-minute squash match that made Darby Allin look like a chump. Like,
no, Darby Allin was the one that in that 3-way match that hit the guy with the skateboard full of thumbtacks, right?
Yeah.
Is he similar size to CM Punk? Because, like, in that match that Richie and I, like, he looked small.
Yeah, he's, like, a few inches smaller and probably 30, 40 pounds lighter.
Okay,
like,
so he is, like, a small guy. It wasn't just two guys he was up against.
No, he's, like, 5'10", 170. I want to say they say he's 170 pounds, which is probably 10 pounds more than he really is.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But, like, he's been aligned with Sting for, like, the last year. Like, that Sting from WCW back in the 90s.
Like cool Sting. Like Crow, like coming from the rafters.
Yep.
At least until they couldn't come from the rafters anymore because Owen Hart died.
Yeah. Well, on Punk's debut, Darby Allin and Sting were in the rafters for Punk to call out. Like,
so I'm curious, though. What is Sting's, like, because I've seen pictures of him, like, at, like, conventions and stuff, and, like, he still does the black and white face paint, right?
Yeah.
Like, is he still, like, the, like, silent, broody guy, or is he more like his late WCW or early WCW, where he's a little more, like, bombastic, let's say?
Probably more like that. Like, they're not having him go out there cut promos all the time, but, you know, he's not a silent protagonist, like, just standing there.
Yeah, because, like, that's what I remember, like, from, like, 1997, like,
yeah,
he would come down from the rafters, hit people with a baseball bat, stare them down, and then shoot back up into the rafters, and, like, very rarely got on the mic. But I know, like, before that, and, like, near the end of WCW, he got more vocal on things and was doing more mic stuff.
Yeah, it's more that. But, like, he's actually in pretty damn good shape for being, like, 60, whatever the fuck he is. Mid-50s.
Yeah, I guess he would be that old.
Yeah, he's been wrestling since, like, before we were born. Let's see, how old is he? Sting wrestling. He was born in 1959. He is 60 fucking 2 years old.
Yeah, that's... I mean, good for him.
I guess it was within the last month, he wrestled a match, like, for a while at the end of his, like, TNA run. In the mid-20 or like the early 2010s, late 2000s, something like that. He was almost always wearing a t-shirt over his singlet. This match he had recently was not wearing a t-shirt. He looked jacked. It was like, holy shit, this dude's fucking in shape.
I wonder if that just means, like, back in TNA, he had just let himself go a little bit.
Probably. Yeah, like, for sure.
Because, like, the match that you had us watch, like Jericho didn't look as like fit as like he used to. Like he was still in better shape than any of us will ever be.
Yeah.
But like, you know, like he wasn't like a 6-pack in muscles. Like he had, you know, he had a little extra going on.
Yeah. And, yeah, when you get older and you've been beating your body up for a long ass time, you can't take care of it anymore. Like
you're not wrong.
So that definitely happened to Sting for a while. It happens to almost every pro wrestler for a while. Like once they kind of can't train like they were, they stop looking like they were, you know? So
which is like understandable, especially when like once you get older, like you're just more prone to injury too. So, you know, you get hurt, you're out for a year, like you're not working out because you're injured.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But yeah, it's an exciting time for AEW at least. And you know, maybe this pushes Raw and SmackDown to do something. But then also, like, Vince is apparently taking control of NXT and might be firing a bunch more people from NXT. Triple H apparently had to have emergency heart surgery today.
Oh, Jesus.
I just saw that on Twitter, like, right before we started recording.
And he's not that old either. Like, he's in his mid-40s?
He's probably closer to 50, but...
Oh, he's 52. Damn.
Okay. But still, I mean, it's not that old at all, like, to need emergency heart surgery. Apparently he had some heart condition that was never previously diagnosed, and he should be fine after that, but
yeah.
I
mean, that's good, as long as, like, because that would suck, because, like, I don't know if he's, like, a decent person in real life, but he always seemed like a real good villain.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, like I said, it's an exciting time for AEW especially, and maybe all of wrestling. We'll see.
You just have a little while to wait.
Yep.
Well, like Rich said at the top of the show, I played a little bit of Psychonauts 2, which... Have either of you guys ever played, like, the original Psychonauts?
No.
I never did. I always wanted to, just never got around to it. Wasn't it, like, Xbox exclusive for the longest time? Or isn't it still?
So it was an original Xbox game. I think it was on PS2 also, and I know it's on PC, because I have it on Steam from, like, a Humble Bundle from years ago, and I've never played it. I've actually never played Psychonauts 1. I knew nothing about it going into Psychonauts 2. Yeah. This game is charming as hell, though, and a lot of fun.
That is what I've heard.
Yeah. It's a good platformer. It's not perfect. Like, it's definitely got a little bit of like jankiness to it when it comes to the platforming.
Okay.
Combat's not the most fun, but it's still good. Thanks, Rich. I totally skipped that. I forgot all about it.
That's fine.
Yeah, we'll do that next. But yeah, it's a fun time. I'm probably halfway through or so. Do you guys know what Psychonauts is? Like, just through osmosis?
I've heard a little bit about it in, like, review people talking about it, but really.
Yeah, the basic idea that I know is that they have, like, telekinetic power. Sometimes you go into people's heads or something like that. That's the basic idea that I may have about this game.
That's a pretty good basics on it. Yeah, so you play as Rasputin, he is a psychic. He is from the circus, though, and his family has been cursed by a psychic that they will die in water. So they, like, avoid water. So, like one of the funny things in this game is anytime that you're near water, you can't swim. If you touch it, like, this hand comes out, and you basically will bounce on it twice. And then if you hit it again a third time, the hand just drags you under and you die.
Okay.
But so his family hates psychics. You are a psychic, though, and so this game does a very good job of telling you what happened in the first game and in the VR game from a few years ago, Rhombus of Ruin.
Okay.
By, like, there's, like, a little recap at the beginning of it, and this game basically picks up like you're coming right out of those first two games from, 15 years ago and 5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is actually, like, they do a very good job. Like, I don't feel like I necessarily missed anything because they do run you through it and just keep that plot line going and introduce you to new things and re-explain things as you need them. But
cool.
Raz goes to camp for psychics and actually gets semi-recruited by the Psychonauts, which are basically, like, the agency that takes care of, like, psychic issues. Okay. And they do. One of the things they do is they have these little doors that they can stick on people's heads, and then anyone that's a Psychonaut can enter the minds. And when you're in the people's minds, you can, change their minds and fight their inner demons and stuff like that. In a lot of cases, you're trying... the very first mind you go into outside of like the introduction to the game is an agent who you're technically an intern in this game, and she doesn't want the interns to go on missions because it's too dangerous. So you go into her head and you're trying to link mental ideas together to make her not be afraid for you to go on missions, like make her think that it's a good idea for you to go on missions. So you do that, and I forget the exact words, but it's basically like risk and reward are the two things you put together. Like there's no reward without risk. And that gets her to, in her own mind figure out like, oh yeah, no, you guys should go on this mission, and I'm going to go too, and we're going to go do this, and then I'm going to make a whole bunch of money for the agency because we're having trouble right now. And that just spirals, and it actually kind of does one of those like psych shifts to her where she becomes very obsessed with something, and it changes everyone's internal mind world, whatever you want to call it, is themed after something kind of important to them. So she was a trained doctor, so her initial mindscape is a hospital. After you've kind of like messed with her psyche, her mindscape becomes this weird combination of a hospital with a casino. So it's a bunch of casino games where they're either themed after hospital things, or people are trying to win things you'd get from a hospital. Like there's like a roulette wheel essentially that if you win it, you get a baby. That's how you get babies. You don't make babies, you win them. So just like goofy shit like that. The second, I don't know if it's necessarily the second one because the game becomes a little open ended with how you want to do certain things. But at one point you go into a guy's mind, and it's kind of like a Woodstock, Sgt. Pepper's psychedelic just days, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Okay.
Lots of tie-dye, lots of crowds. All of the characters you're interacting with that you're trying to help in this one are very much like Sgt. Pepper characters. Like they're dressed like the Beatles were on the Sgt. Pepper's album and everything. And that was actually, I think I messaged it to both of you guys, but there's one point where Jack Black is the voice of a character, and there's like just this psychedelic music number with Jack Black singing, and it's very it feels out of nowhere for it to be what it is, but it also fits the game perfectly.
Okay.
And yeah, it's been a fun game so far. It makes me want to go back and play the original one, but being as old as it is, I just don't know that it'll hold up, especially going back to it after playing through this one.
Mm-hmm.
But you get all sorts of different psychic powers, and it's got a little bit of that Metroidvania-ness to it, where you have to unlock certain powers before you can go back through certain areas. So every mindscape has just a bunch of stuff to collect. And there's certain things that you need certain abilities to get through. There's areas with like spinning fans that you need an ability that slows down time. You can do this thing called a mind connection, where you can find stray thoughts, which are just little thought bubbles, and use them as like zip points to like you zip to one, and then you can just train them together. That's actually how you connect the thoughts in the one mission too. But there are dark thoughts that you have to upgrade that ability all the way before you unlock the dark thoughts ability. That sometimes like there are paths in the different mindscapes that are these dark thoughts that you have to then follow those to get to whatever the item is that you're trying to collect. It's also got, it seems to, I'm trying to think of the right way to put this, because it's not making light of like mental health. It's got a lot of comedy wrapped up in it, but it definitely has something to say about mental health in like a good way. Like a lot of times, like when something serious comes up, even if it is kind of surrounded by like jokey material before you get there, the game sort of like slows down at that point and tries to make a point of like, hey, you're not alone in this. Whether it's like depression or one character, he's literally split, like his mind is fractured and he's split into a bunch of different versions of himself, and you're basically trying to like help him like put the pieces back together, figuratively and literally. And it's doing a really good job with that stuff, at least from what I've seen so far. Yeah,
nice.
Nice. I would definitely recommend it. It's on Game Pass, and I believe it's on Game Pass for PC also.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was one of those games that they showed at E3, so most likely.
Yeah, they definitely showed it off at E3. I wasn't sure if it was a PC Game Pass game also. Because those are, always a little weird.
Everything that showed at E3 is going to be both PC and console Game Pass exclusive day one.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I forgot I knew like it was what, 29 of the 33 games were like day one to Game Pass. I forgot that it was that many were going to PC also.
Everything that was day one to Game Pass at the show is also going to be day one to Game Pass on PC.
Oh, actually, real quick, just like side thing. Speaking of Game Pass, I tried a Flight Simulator. That thing is super cool.
I want to play that. I really do.
It's really cool. It's like 150 gigs to download.
I believe it.
It's got the mode where you can literally just like fly, like you set a flight path, like you pick like Philadelphia to New York, and you start on Philadelphia's tarmac, and you take off, and you have to like it gives you like little like, all right, and I'll get to this altitude, and then you can start following your flight path and everything, and it's got like flight control stuff constantly reading in the background. And then it's just got like adventure flights where you can just pick a destination and it just starts you already in the air and you just fly around. Like I flew around the fucking pyramids today.
Nice.
Yeah. Like, and that's that one. Like there's no flight control. It seems a little more loose when it comes to like how close you can get to the ground without the plane sort of freaking out and everything. So you can really kind of like swoop in. Like I flew right on top of the Sphinx to like get like a good look at it.
Cool.
Yeah. It's neat though. It's worth checking out if when either of you ever sign up for Game Pass. Just, start the download first thing in the morning because it's going to take you a fucking while.
Yeah, that's definitely when I do eventually sign up for Game Pass. It's definitely one of the things that I'm gonna get.
Yeah, I will say it's a weird game to control. It is if you have a controller, it's actually easier to play it with a controller and a mouse. I found because you can be a little more. You can do everything with the face buttons for the most part, but some of the controls on the plane is actually easier to just like click and drag, I've seen. So if you like set it to in cockpit view, you use the controller, the left analog stick to sort of like turn and adjust your altitude and everything. And then you use the mouse to actually like adjust your throttle and your pitch and stuff.
Yeah.
It's neat though. It's neat. But how about the Sony stuff?
So yeah, Sony's backtracking on what they said last week, which I don't even think we got to talk about because it happened after we recorded.
I think we might have just missed it.
Yeah. So last week we were told that there would be no upgrade, next gen upgrade for Horizon Forbidden West. So if you get the PS4 version, there's no way to get the PS5 version unless you buy the PS5 version. And if you buy the PS5 version, there's no way to play it on your PS4.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were just there. You could have gotten like the deluxe editions, which was like $30-$40 more, something like that, to be able to play it on both. But I guess it also seemed like there was no like cross save capabilities or anything. I'm not 100% sure on that one.
I don't think there were cross save because none of these games really have cross save in general. Like even stuff like Avengers, like they didn't have cross save. It just had the ability to upgrade your save to PS5, but once you do that, like that's it.
But I don't think there was even that capability to do that.
No, because there was no upgrade path at all. It was just like you said, you could buy the PS4 version and that would play on PS5, but it was still the PS4 version.
Yeah.
PS5 version could only play on PS5, and it was $60 for the PS4 or $70 for the PS5.
Yeah. So now, because I'm sure there was a lot of backlash, they backstepped on that, and they're like, oh no, you can get the PS4 version and get a free upgrade for the PS5 version.
Yeah, so I'm gonna read real quick the statement that Jim Ryan released.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So he I don't know if this was on a PlayStation blog. I saw it on Twitter, but this is PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan. Last year, we made a commitment to deliver free upgrades for our cross-gen launch titles, which included Horizon Forbidden West. The pandemic's profound impact pushed Forbidden West out of the launch window we initially envisioned. We will stand by our offer. Players who purchase Horizon Forbidden West on PlayStation 4 will be able to upgrade to the PlayStation 5 version for free. I also want to confirm today that moving forward, PlayStation first-party exclusive cross-gen titles newly released on PS4 and PS5, both digital and physical, will offer a $10 USD digital upgrade option from PS4 to PS5. This will apply to the next God of War and Gran Turismo 7 and any other exclusive cross-gen PS4 and PS5 titles published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. So there's that.
Yeah, so right now, if you're planning on getting Horizon Forbidden West, get it for the PS4 because it's cheaper.
Yeah, it is $10 cheaper, and you will be able to upgrade it for free to the PS5 version.
Yeah.
And this is just one more in a line of things where like it looks like the people in charge at Sony are not talking to each other, and it seems like the people that are in charge actually don't know anything about the video game market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much sounds about right.
Because like Sean Layden knew what a video game was. Like he worked on the PlayStation brand for like 30 years or something like that. Even like Shuei Yoshida, like that dude plays video games. Like you can go on his PSN profile and like see the games that he has beaten.
Yeah.
Whereas like I wouldn't be surprised if Jim Ryan has never held a PlayStation controller. Like he's a suit. Like that's what his job is. His job is to be in charge of things, but he doesn't seem to actually have anybody to tell him what the right moves are. Like it seems like he's just surrounded himself with other suits. Whereas like Xbox, like for the most part, the Xbox brand at Microsoft seems to have a bunch of people in charge who at least know and understand the video game market to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
Like they know what people want to see out of games, and they're trying to point in that direction as best as they can while still maintaining like their business.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's crazy that like stuff like this has to keep happening. And
Yeah, it's just like you said, like they're not paying attention. They don't know what's going on, and it's like that was just ridiculous that there wouldn't be any way to update it initially. And like, oh no, you can do it for free now. Like after like people complained about it, it's like you obviously knew people were going to want this. Like,
yeah, and it's almost assuredly going to be a huge hassle to do anything with too.
Oh yeah, it's going to be the same thing with Final Fantasy and Avengers, and it's going to be the worst. It's going to be the absolute worst because like Sony's like background, Sony's like what is it? Like use UI for their online system and for the system in general is just so bad. The fact that I have to determine which version I'm playing when I'm playing a game, like if I have both installed, is ridiculous. I shouldn't have to have both installed. I should have just been able to update No Man's Sky to the PS5 version, and it delete the PS4 version and update my saves to the PS5 version. I shouldn't have lost the 14 hours of time that I did because I was playing on the PS4 version and not the PS5 version.
Yeah, like
which is what that is something that happened.
And the Xbox just does smart delivery. Like I don't understand why they both don't do that. Like if one console can do it, they should both be able to just determine like, oh, you are playing on this hardware, you can play this game. Like,
yeah.
Obviously it knows what hardware you're on, or it wouldn't let you play the PS5 games to begin with.
Exactly.
Right.
And, like, nobody wants to play the PS4 version of a game on their PS5. There's no reason to do that.
Like, the only reason I had the PS4 version was because I guess the PS5 version wasn't out yet when I first installed it.
Probably
but, like,
not.
once the PS5 version came out, like, it should have just been an automatic free update for anybody who had the game, that the game had a free PS5 update.
No, that's exactly how the Xbox works. Like,
yeah,
I had things installed that were base Xbox One stuff. And then it got a next gen upgrade, and it either became on my Xbox dashboard, it is either Xbox Series X enhanced for something that is still technically like an Xbox One game, but it's just got, better frame rates or what have you, or it became a full Series X game if it actually had a next gen patch. Yeah. And it did that automatically. Like, I just turned my Xbox on one day and the things were moved into a different category.
Yeah, like, Sony is starting to go the route of PCs where it's like, if you don't know what you're doing with a PC, if you don't know to look up and make sure all your drivers are updated, like, once once a month or so, like, you're not going to know this. Like, you have to jump through hoops in order to understand all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with their hard drive, too. Like, the fact that you have to buy a hard drive that it's still technically beta, so they don't have a list of compatible hard drives. You have to also buy the right-sized heatsink to go with it, because they're not selling them themselves, and then you have to install it. And if you've never installed an NVMe drive, like, they're weird. Like, they're not hard to do, but there's definitely, like, a lot of second-guessing going into that if you've never done it before.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, the Xbox is just like, give us $300, here's a thing that just pops into the back of your Xbox.
Yeah.
It gives you a terabyte of space.
Yeah,
Have fun.
Sony is becoming very out of touch with its consumer base.
It's like they traded, like Sony was like this in the PS3 era where they just didn't know what the consumer wanted. And then Xbox was it in the Xbox One era, like when that era launched.
Yep.
And now they just traded roles again. It's like, come on, guys. Like, y'all can both do what the consumer wants and still make money. It'll be okay.
Right.
Because, like, at this point, like, all Sony has going is its first-party stuff. And they don't have any first-party games right now.
Yeah.
At least not that I want to play.
And that's, like, the biggest problem with, like, the whole console wars and everything is, like, both consoles are trying to differentiate themselves from the other one, but, like, come on. We all just want to play games. So, like, you can be, like you said, you could be the same. The Xbox and the PlayStation, the Xbox, let's see, what are we at? The Xbox Series S. So, the Xbox Series X1 and the PlayStation 6 can be the exact same fucking machine. Both companies will make money off.
Yeah.
Like, that's how it is.
Yeah, it's such a, like, I get it, it's business, like, they're marketing for stuff, but it's just, it sucks. Like, honestly, the last, like, 2 generations, Xbox was the thing that I used for, like, certain games, and then the PlayStation is where I kind of went for everything else.
Yeah.
And, like, this generation so far, like, I've only really grabbed first-party stuff for PlayStation, because, like, my Xbox has Game Pass. Like, a lot of time, like, a lot of the third-party games I've wanted to try, I've tried on Game Pass, or on Switch, because I can play in handheld mode. And then Xbox actually lets you gift things digitally.
Yeah.
So, like, there were games that I got for, like, my birthday and stuff that I had Erica just buy them digitally for me because I didn't want the fucking cases. I didn't want to have to keep swapping games out for, like, $30 games. Like, $60 games are different. Like, I don't know why in my head, but, like, a $60 or $70 game, I don't mind having the physical version for. I don't always go for it, but, like, I don't mind. But for, like, smaller games or, like, older games, like, if I'm not paying full price, I'd rather just have it digitally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which is weird, but...
No, it's... I would, prior to getting the PC, like, if I had the Xbox One, or Xbox Series X as well, and, like, I did it with the PS4 and the Xbox One, like, I got everything for the PS4, because I knew more people that played on that. I had the Xbox One for exclusives, which I eventually just was like, I'm just over it. I'm done with it. Now that I have the PC, unless there's an exclusive game coming out for the PS5, I'm most likely going to be getting my games on the PC. Because most of the people that I play games with are going to be playing on the PC.
So all your friends are nerds, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's also cheaper to game on the PC. Because, what was that game that we reviewed? Or not reviewed, we played the demo of. That, like, me and you liked and you weren't a fan of. It was that anime game.
Scarlet Nexus?
Scarlet Nexus. Less than a month after it was released, it was $30 off on Steam.
It was $30 on console too.
But like it's just PC gaming is like you can get so many more games for cheaper on PCs, and there's just such a bigger library that
is true.
There is a bigger library. I do feel like the console digital game sales have gotten incredibly competitive with Steam sales.
Yeah, I think the difference there is, like Rich said, like there are more games and a larger variety of games on PC because it's very easy for, like, small developers to develop for PC and release on Steam versus especially, like, small developers that can't afford to pay the fees to actually get their game onto Xbox or PlayStation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then, but, like, Rich, I would argue, it's not cheaper to play on PC because the entry level is so high, and keeping your PC at a level that it can keep playing the newest games it becomes very expensive.
Yeah, I mean, I spent $2,000, well, about $1,800 before warranty and shit on my PC. Yes, it's expensive.
Like
this PC
4 PS5s.
But this PC will last me at least 2 generations.
Probably.
My previous PC lasted me 10 years.
So yes, you can use that PC for 10 years, but you're not going to be playing modern games in 5 years on it.
It was my previous PC. It was like within the past 2 years that I couldn't play modern games. And a lot of the issues was RAM. if I'd gone through the process of updating my old PC, like 5 years later to a better graphics card or something, I would have been able to play better. But I never did that. And so if I keep up on this, yes, if I spend another $300-400 on a new graphics card, because hopefully the chip shortage will be dealt with in like a few years, like and PC prices or PC part prices should lower. Like as long as I keep up with the actual PC itself and buy parts that like when I need them and not just all at once, it in the long run could be cheaper, if not equally as expensive as a console.
It definitely equals. It ends up being a little bit more, but you do. It's not a bad investment. Like if you like playing games on PC, there are a lot of games that you're not going to be able to play on console, especially the games that you want to play, like the survival games and stuff like that.
Yeah, but plus take away the $60 a year for not having to pay to play games on, and take away, like I said, there's a bigger catalog, and yes, the sales on consoles have become very competitive, but still not really as good as the sales on Steam.
I feel a lot of the things on Steam that really go on sale are the things that no one's going to buy anyway normally.
And like this is not an
indie game. It's smaller indie game.
The entirety of Civ 6, everything available for Civ 6 is on sale for $30 right now.
But how old is Civ 6?
That's $219 worth of shit. It might not be on sale anymore, but $219 worth of stuff is on sale for $30 on Steam.
Yeah, but you figure that game's from 2016, so it's not like it's a new game. So like the games that you play definitely do go on sale more because I mean Civilization's a different story, but like you do play a lot. Like they're not so much indie games, but they're like the smaller studio like survival games and stuff like that. Like your Valheims and what was that? The Long Dark, is that one of the ones that you play?
That's one I have played that once, but no, you're thinking The Forest.
The Forest. Like you play stuff like that where games like that, because they're not a Ubisoft or an EA or a 2K game, they do get incredible sales, and they're not on console generally, or if they are, they're not really meant for console.
7 Days to Die and The Forest are both on console. 7 Days to Die they used the Fun Pimps who developed 7 Days to Die used an outsourced company to actually develop it for console, and then they haven't supported it for a while because A, they weren't making money, and B, they haven't had the company that they were using shut down.
Yeah, exactly.
But they plan on getting a new company to do it once they actually release the final version of their game, because although 7 Days to Die has been out for almost 10 years now, it's still in alpha testing.
Yeah, but you figure the games that I play, they go on really cheap sales on console all the time. Like, I've gotten to the point where, like, I buy more games when they're, like, $20 or less on console than I do full price anymore.
Yeah, it
just comes down to, like, what's, like, the stuff that goes on sale on Steam, I would not waste my money on because I would never touch them even if I wanted to play games on PC. The stuff I'd want to play is still usually $40 to $60.
But I bet, like, the games you're looking at for, like, the games that I'm interested in playing are the games that I'm seeing that are coming on sale on Steam. Games you're interested in playing, if I were to add those to my wish list that were available on Steam, they would be on sale in the same time frame as
No, like, I have games that I've added to, like, Steam wish lists over the years just to, like, keep an eye on them. That, like, they never really go on sales that I would want to spend that money for, but I've seen them go on similar sales on console at the same time.
The entirety of everything for console Civ 6 that has been released is $28 on PSN right now.
Do you know how much that is versus what the PC has?
It's $29.88 for Civ 6 Anthology.
It's the same Rise and Fall and Gathering Storm and New Frontier passes. I don't know if the additional leader and DLC packs are on console or not, but like Civ is also on sale on PlayStation, right?
But let's be clear. No one should play Civ on PlayStation.
No,
probably not. No.
Like, you could get away with it on Switch because of the touchscreen, I feel. But, don't play it with I don't even like those games, and I would never touch those with a fucking controller. You need to be able to click and drag and move things.
Yeah, I can't get into.
But yeah, so Sony, to circle back because we got way off track there. Sony changed their mind with Horizon Forbidden West's upgrades after a bunch of backlash. like rightfully so. Like that was a game that they said would have an upgrade, and because it got pushed out of that release window because of COVID, they completely backtracked on it and then made it impossible to actually upgrade. You either had to spend full price for it, whether you could play it or not, or actually spend even more to buy a deluxe edition.
Yeah.
And like frankly, like the fact that you still can't get PS5s and that it's currently being like rumored and projected that they won't be readily available until 2023. That's just fucked. Like, so like people that want to play this game now but also want to be able to play it when they eventually can get their hands on a PS5, they just have to fork out more money and hope it works out for them.
Yeah.
And especially with no without an upgrade, there was no save upgrade path either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. So Sony's just making weird fucking decisions.
Yeah.
But anyway, Richie, what sort of decisions did you make on Mars last night?
Oh man, so yeah, I on stream last night because it was on my wish list on Steam, and so it just happened to be free. And it's still free for you guys at least. It's still free through today. So as long as you add it to your library, you'll always have it. It was Surviving Mars. It is from the Paradox Interactive. It's the same people who make City Skylines, and so like I've always heard of it. There's actually, when I bought the DLC for City Skylines on the PS5, you can actually listen to the music from Surviving Mars while playing City Skylines. It's one of the things they added for the DLC. It's an interesting game because
so, Rich, real quick, just to elaborate, this game was actually made by, I can't read it from this far away, HBOMax Games. Paradox is the publisher.
Yeah, so I mean, it's published by Paradox. Like, I don't really know much about I don't know. But yeah, it was published by Paradox. It was made by HBOMax Games, which I don't know who that is.
They've been around for a while, apparently. 24 years? Oh, they're Bulgarian. They do a lot of strategy and city building stuff, though.
Yeah, apparently they did, like, Tropico 4.
And 5.
I think. And
okay.
5, yeah.
And 3. They've done a bunch of Tropicos.
Yeah, so I think what had happened was they recently released a new a patch or a new DLC for the game, and so to get more people to buy it and buy the DLC, they made the game free on Steam. So I jumped in and I got the vanilla version because it was free on Steam, and I played it on stream. And that game it's interesting. When I first jumped in, I considered not playing the tutorial. I'm glad I spent the hour to play the tutorial, because there is a lot. You have to manage, water and resource gathering. You have to manage food for the people. It's not like I went into it expecting like a kind of like a city builder sim thing, like City Skylines, but it's a survival simulator essentially. And so you start off with, just your drones, and they start gathering materials and building like power depots and things like that. And you explore more of like your landing site. You have to send back and call down ships for resupply if you need resupply. Eventually getting to a point where you get the founders to come and land on which is the first 12 people to come land on Mars, and they have to survive 10 souls, I believe, before you can get more people. So then it's trying to manage and make sure that they have enough power and resources and food and everything, while still continuing to explore, gathering the resources you need to be able to upgrade, or not even upgrade, repair your buildings and such. And it's just like, it is a lot more intricate than I was expecting. And it's like kind of what little I've played of Civ, it's kind of very Civ-like, just on Mars, and without having to like actually play against people.
So but you said you've never been able to get into Civ. Were you also not really able to get into this?
This was different because it wasn't the whole like, it wasn't when I say it's Civ based, it's like Civ similar. Like Civ has like the whole turn based and everything, where this is just, it's all real time. There's no other like people landing on Mars. It's just you surviving Mars. But the way you're doing it, to me, is kind of Civ-like, where you're researching new technologies, you're exploring the land to see if you can find more minerals. It's like real-time strategy, crossed with survival, crossed with Civ. It's like kind of all connected. and I was like, I really got into it. I played 2 games during my stream after playing the tutorial. One of them, within a half hour, I knew I was going to lose. I knew I was going to die, and the game was going to be over, so I quit out and started a new one. And the new one I was doing really well on, started to understand the game mechanics a little bit more. And it's just like, it's a very interesting game to play. And it does, it looks good, too. Like, visually, it looks very nice.
Okay. Also, it looks like it's no longer free.
No.
That sucks. It was supposed to be free through September 8th. So.
Today's the 8th.
It is the 8th.
Well, it's special.
It's $7.49 now, and that's available until the 13th. So it's still very cheap, considering it looks like it's usually $30.
Yeah. Also, if it was through the 8th, I don't know if they set it to be their time, which, it's like 4 a.m. in Bulgaria now.
Oh. Yeah. I don't know what time Steam, you know how like the PlayStation Store updates at like 11 or 12 or something like that East Coast time?
I don't think Steam is like that. I think Steam is kind of rolling. Like, I don't think there's a hard set time for things on Steam.
Yeah, no, that is probably true, just because it's Steam. Like, what do they care?
So, according to PC Gamer, it was offer less until September 8th, so maybe it was until today. Like, I saw September 8th, so to me that meant it was through today, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Who knows? At this point, until the 13th, you can get it for $7.50 at least.
Yeah, which is still, I think that's a fair price.
75% off.
Yeah, and looking at I could get all the DLC for $21.13, which is cheaper than the game itself, and that would include buying the game though. So, let's see. Radio.
No, I think you're getting a discount because you already have the game. Because there's a bundle with all the DLC that's showing as $26.60 for me.
Okay, so the bottom one, Buying Survival Mars First Colony Edition bundle?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's $21.13 for me. So
there, yeah. You get a $5 discount because you already have the base game.
Yeah, and so the Below and Beyond is the most recent DLC launched on the 7th of this month, which is why they did the free game and everything. I didn't know this game was only released in 2018. I thought it was kind of older. But yeah, it's a really interesting kind of simulation game that I like. There's a lot to manage and micromanage and have to keep track of. It's really cool, and I really enjoyed it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how about the Metroids?
So Jordan, did you know that I've never played a basic Metroid game?
I haven't either, so...
Really?
Yep.
I at least thought maybe you have. Like, back in the day, I think we had the original Metroid on NES, but I didn't understand it, so I didn't play it a lot.
It's a weird game.
It's because it's very much the Metroidvania style. It's also kind of, in a way, roguelite, where, the maps don't change, but, if you die, you go back to the beginning. You get to keep everything you found, but you don't have a map, and you go back to the beginning of the area that you died in. It's, like I said, roguelite. Very, very light roguelite.
That's nothing. That would not be in the discussion of anything being roguelike.
I said light.
Or light. I forget what, the Berlin Convention, not even going to consider Metroid as a roguelike.
I didn't say it was. It's very much like
it's just
a roguelike.
It's just a fucking game. That's what games did.
Well, I didn't know. I didn't realize that if you died, I didn't realize that if I don't know what I'm trying to say. But
you didn't know that it sent you back to the beginning?
I knew it sent you back to the beginning of the game, but I didn't know, A, that there's so many different regions in this game, and B, that when you died, it brought you back to the beginning of that area and not of the game. It is an interesting and tough game, the original Metroid. I was able to make it through a lot of, the base Bryn Star area, which is where you get, your first missiles, you get your roll bombs, your morph ball bombs, and the long beam. I was able to get a lot of that stuff and a higher energy tank, but like I kept getting lost because there's no map. I didn't know where to go, what was the right way to go. There's like I didn't know that I needed 5 missiles to open a red door. Like, and it doesn't explain any of this to you. You just have to find it out, which is really cool. But also at the same time, like, how do you figure that out?
So what was your... Prior to this, you had played Metroid Prime, right?
I had played Metroid Prime, a little bit of it. I don't think I ever really beat Metroid Prime. And I had played Other M. But I never played, like, Metroid... And maybe a very small bit of Metroid Fusion. But not enough to actually have, like, counted playing a Metroid game. Like, Other M, because people say it doesn't count. I never played a base Metroid game. Like, Other M was very, very much a Metroid game, but it's still, like, it was still so much different.
Yeah, and I never played Other M, but from what I've seen and heard of it, it really was nothing like a traditional 2D Metroid game. Yeah. Whereas, so I've never really played much of the original Metroid. I booted it up on the Switch 2 days ago just to like poke around at it for a minute. Like, I didn't realize there wasn't a map.
Yeah, that's the hardest part. There's no map. So you just have to remember where you're going and where you went.
Yeah, 'cause like that's... So I've played Super Metroid a whole bunch and Metroid Fusion, which are both very similar in how they play. Like, and so is the original Metroid. You know, that's why games are called Metroidvanias. Like, you go through the game, you get different abilities and weapons that then let you get to other parts of the game. But both of those games have very useful maps that fill in as you go, and you can generally tell, like, all right, it looks like there should be another room here, so let me lay a bomb or fire a missile and see what happens.
Yeah.
And just everything is color-coded, so you know, like, the green door gets this type of missile, the pink door gets this type, this door needs 8 missiles, or what have you.
Yeah. And so, like, I'm looking through, I actually went on Reddit and found a map, and I'm looking through, and there's purple doors, which I don't know what the purple doors need. Red doors, so it's red, purple, blue, and yellow. I don't know what the yellow needs. I don't know what the purple needs. All I know is red needs 5 missiles.
Which is similar to Super Metroid.
Yeah, so now I need to just make my way through. And, like, again, looking at this map, I'm finding out that, like, there's somewhere that, like, I kind of missed stuff in. Because I didn't know that there was a path below me that I could go to.
Oh, yeah. Like, that's... You should... On the Switch Online, there are 2 other Metroid games on there that are the specials, where it just has stuff unlocked. You should load those up and just see like how much like health and weird shit you get, because you know, you've got the 2 types of missiles. You got regular missiles and super missiles, I think, in that game. Plus like the morph ball and the bomb, and then you just get so much health in that game, like just so much health.
It's looking like you get missiles. I like, it doesn't look like, according to this map, there's a super missile, but there are bombs and ice beams.
Okay. Yeah, and then in Super Metroid, there's like 2 or 3 different types of beams, plus the charge shot. There's like a running, like, I forget what they're called. It's basically like boots that make you run really fast, and you can jump really high when you're running really fast.
It's the high jump boots, probably.
Yeah, and then there's regular missiles, super missiles, bombs, super bombs I don't know what they're called, something else. That game has a lot more, plus just oodles and oodles of health.
Yeah. So it's just it's kind of mind-blowing how difficult this game is.
Yeah, I wonder if that game actually had a map in the box. So the original Legend of Zelda, the only way to like really beat that, if you've never played it before, is with a map. And the game came with a map, like a physical map in the box that it showed you where the dungeons were, so you knew where to go to progress through the game. Rather than just, you know, starting the game and just not knowing what to do and potentially ending up in like the wrong dungeon.
Yeah.
I wonder if Metroid had like a similar map insert to help you get through the thing, and maybe didn't tell you where all the items were, but at least let you see the layout so that you could try and like plot your way through it.
Yeah, I doubt that. If anything, I think there would have been something in like Nintendo Power Mag. If Nintendo Power Magazine was out during the release of...
I don't know. Let's find out.
Yeah.
Nintendo Power... 1988 was the first one. August of 98. 80, no, you know, it might have been, because it looks like 86 was the first Metroid. Oh, no. I'm sorry. The first Metroid came out 2 years prior to Nintendo Power.
Yeah, so it probably wouldn't be in... It might be in Nintendo Power, but it probably wouldn't.
It would have been 2 years later, which wouldn't have really been all that helpful.
I don't know. It's for... People played these games a lot, so maybe for the kids who didn't know, it would have been helpful. Maybe it's just like, oh, here's a 2-year anniversary of the release of Metroid. Here's what the map looks like, everyone. Type of thing. But it's just, yeah, it's crazy.
There is no, well, at least not in the instruction booklet, their map.
So I know that the Zelda one was a separate insert. Like, it was actually like a big, like, fold open map.
Okay.
Because it was a world map. Like, it showed you the entire map of Zelda so that you could find the dungeons and stuff.
Yeah. And so maybe that was in this, but like, I'm looking through this map and I'm just like, I know there's no way I'd be able to progress through this game without something.
Yeah, no, that's one of those games where there is just too much going on.
Yeah, it's huge. It's just freaking huge. Like, I was getting lost going to the same places. Like, I was like, do I need to go down or do I go up? Which way do I go here? Like, it's just, I love it. I love what they did to it. Or I love how they did this. But it's, like, that's the one thing I need to make my gameplay a lot easier. Like, I don't know if you guys have watched my streams or just ever watched me play games. Like, I'm constantly checking the maps of any game I'm playing if there's a map available. Because I need to know if I'm going the right way. Because I don't really have a sense of direction outside of a map. And so, for instance, in Monster Hunter Stories 2, you press the plus button, it opens up the map, it tells you where to go, and then I orient myself when I get out of the map. And I'm like, alright, great. Then I always press it a couple more times to see if I missed anything, because the further you open up the map, the more it'll show, like, treasure chest, or maybe caves or something like that. And so, like, I'm always checking the map, because that helps me center myself and know that I'm kind of going the right way, or not even the right way, the wrong way, the way that, like, I can go, if you get what I'm saying. Like,
you might want to just skip right to Super Metroid. Like, you're not really missing much, like, narratively, because, like, those early NES games didn't have a whole lot of narrative anyway. And, like, Super Metroid is just arguably the better game. It does have a little bit of story to it. It does pick up when, like, it gives you a rundown of what happened at the beginning, if I remember correctly. So, like, there's, like, a little text scroll when you start the game, and I believe it tells you what happened in the original Metroid.
Yeah. I mean, I'm probably still just gonna play through this Metroid, and not, like, skip it. Like,
I mean, look, if that's what you want to do, Super Metroid is just, it's a better game in basically every way, and it has a map, so you can, like, figure out where you're going. It's got save rooms, so that you can, like, if you do die, like, you just load back to the closest save room you saved at.
Yeah. Like, this game isn't that big to need save, like, it essentially does have save rooms at the beginning of each area, so, like, if you die in Norfair, you come back in Norfair. If you die in Kraid's Lair, you come back in Kraid's Lair.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, once I get to, say, Ridley's Lair, which is not connected to anything except Norfair, once I defeat Ridley, I'm gonna have to go all the way back through Ridley's Lair, Norfair, and Brinstar just to get to, say, Mother Brain or something.
Yeah, these games are it's a lot of backtracking.
Yeah, which is fine. I was enjoying it. I was hoping to beat it before, or to beat this and Super Metroid at least before Dread comes out. Probably not going to happen. But I'm gonna give it the old college try. I might hold off on getting Dread until I beat these two, and if I can find a ROM for Fusion, I might try playing that. But I don't know.
Well, you have to get Metroid Prime or Metroid 2, Samus Returns.
Yeah, that's a Game Boy.
No, they remade it on Switch like 2 years ago.
Did they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so because there was a lot of contention when that came out, because there's actually a fan remake called Another Metroid 2 Remake, if I remember correctly. It's like AM2R. That is arguably a better remake than what Nintendo did.
Yeah.
But obviously, like, it's a fan remake, so it's not legal. But yeah, if you're going to play all of them, you got to play that, and then Super Metroid, and then Fusion, and then you can get Dread.
Yeah, we'll see.
You need the whole 32-year story, man.
I really want to, like, play these, and I'm super interested in it. I really want.
Yeah, that's why I think if you like Metroid, Super Metroid, you'll probably like Dread. I wouldn't claim that you'll like Dread based on Metroid 1 because it is such a different game.
Yeah.
But I think Super Metroid is basically in a lot of ways, like, it's kind of the way A Link to the Past for Zelda is really the game that set every other Zelda up going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Super Metroid is the same way. Like, every other side-scrolling Metroid game is, like, based off of Super Metroid in a way.
That's one other, and that's Metroid Dread. Oh, no. Fusion and then Dread. There's only two.
And then also Zero Mission, the remake of 1, is styled much closer to Super Metroid.
Oh.
Because Zero Mission is Metroid 1 remade on GBA, but it had an opening mission where you play as Zero Suit Samus without the armor.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so how about the Team Fortress 2 stuff that you asked us to listen to, Rich?
Yeah. So there is a podcast out there called Reply All. They generally do like sometimes techie based stories. They'll go a little bit more political sometimes, but like they do tend to like lean on a lot of the tech based like stories out there. And they recently released an episode that was called I Am Not a Bot, I believe is what it was called. And it's called I'm Not a Bot. It's episode 178. And it's about how one of the producers and writers and hosts of the show, Alex Goldman, he loves playing Team Fortress 2, but as of late and within the past couple of years, botting for your characters has blown up to the point where you can't even step outside without dying immediately. And I found the whole podcast very fascinating because I didn't know that there was still such a big community for Team Fortress 2. But like that kind of surprised. But I didn't know that there was also like this whole community of botters that are just like, yeah, we do it for the lulz. That's really all. We do it because you don't like it.
And even then, like the one guy that he managed to get like a text interview with didn't even seem like they were doing it for that. Like they just did it because they could. They had no reason to do it. They don't watch it. They don't don't care. It's just a thing they can do, so they do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's kind of fucked up, because, like, you are taking away the enjoyment of other people's ability to play this game, because you're just like, oh, I can write this program, I'm gonna do it. And then they do it. And so, like, there's been this outcry of people trying to get to Valve, say, hey, do something about this. Stop these bots. And, like, even at the end of the podcast, they said that they were able they were able to find like interviews and talks with somebody from Valve.
It was Gabe Newell.
It was Gabe Newell. I that name was in my head and I thought it was him, but I couldn't remember. They found things with Gabe Newell where he's just like, we're working on it, but like very insincere. Like he just doesn't care, and
he doesn't care. He has all the money. He moved to New Zealand just to get away from everything. Like, Valve is not a good company. Like, they don't do anything worthwhile. And from what they were saying on this podcast, like, there's nobody doing anything there. Like, everyone is just allowed to do whatever the fuck they want as long as Steam keeps making money. So, like, they don't care about making, like, they care about making games, but every person just wants to make their own game. They have no desire to make what people want or to update their games that already exist.
Yeah, and that's absolutely what they said in the podcast and on a bunch of articles that they looked up and researched.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it is a 14-year-old game. I sort of understand them not giving a shit about going and patching it at this point.
But, you know, if you still have people, like, if you have the servers online and people actively playing it, you should at least be doing some sort of just basic maintenance or just turn the fucking servers off at that point. If nobody at the company gives any fucks about this game, turn the servers off so that people stop trying.
Well, I don't know that Valve runs servers for this game.
No, I think they do. I don't think that's a people run their own servers sort of game.
Like all old, like Counter-Strike is a peer-to-peer server game. It is not
but this is
Valve
an old
server.
Counter-Strike.
This is older than Counter-Strike 1 or than Counter-Strike Source. Like, this game is from 2007.
It's P2P servers for this game. It's like I jump in, I could be running my own server or just my machine would be running the server. if I create my own game. If we were to all play together, it would be running off of one of our machines, not running off of something Valve has set up.
Yeah.
But over the past few days, they've averaged about 80,000 players on Team Fortress 2. Like their low ball on September 2nd was about 48,000.
Wow.
And they're currently this is according to Steam charts, they're currently at about 80,000 players. 82,000 players. So like there's still a like that's a large community playing this game.
Yeah, I mean it is the one question is how many of those 80,000 are bots?
And that's
what I was
the
just
problem.
thinking.
Is it 8? So right now on my screen on Steam charts it says there's 80,833 people playing. Is that 80,000 bots and then 833 actual people trying to play, or what?
I think there's more people to bots, but the bots are
You're
just
probably
so
right.
The bots are just so overwhelmingly good or so overwhelmingly cheating that it feels like there's a lot of bots. It might just be one or two bots.
Well, it probably is just like one per game, but it's just as soon as you start, it just instantly kills you.
But, in that podcast, he was saying there was a time he jumped into a game. There were 8 bots in the game.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He did say that.
Or whatever. And it's like, there were too many bots for them to then vote kick bots because the bots wouldn't vote. So they couldn't get a majority votes to kick the bots.
Yeah, and that's the problem is with Team Fortress 2. If you're going to play it, you have to actually have enough friends to play it in case you get a bot joining your server. And it's just like, I don't know. It was a really good story, and it was just really fascinating to hear that, like, Team Fortress 2 still has this large of potentially this large of a community. Even if it is 90,000 bots, it's still a couple tens of thousands of people running these bots. So, like, they're still utilizing this game. Like, you would think that, like, with a playership this high, Steam would care, or Valve would care about. You
would think that, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, their all-time peak, according to Steam charts, is 150,000. So they're still more than they're just over half of that still playing currently right now. Like I don't really know where else to go with this, but it's just like it was a very fascinating podcast, and it just makes me think like how many other if I were to try to go back and play Counter-Strike, either the original or the new one, like, is that full of bots as well?
Not the new one, because it's an esports game, so it's still...
Yeah.
It matters.
Like, like, companies dump money into that game, like, cheating is fucking treated with a hammer when that happens.
Yeah. Now, if you go into Source or 1.6, you're probably going to find a lot about it.
Yeah.
But Global Offensive, probably not met.
And looking through Steam charts, it averages 80,000. So, like, back when the game first came out in 2012, like, August and October were its peak months at 117,000, 106,000. But overall, it's generally around 75 to 85, 90,000. For 14 years. Or however long. Yeah. 10 years. 10 years, this game is still running that high in numbers.
Yeah, that's incredible that it's been around that long.
Yeah.
See,
and it's I would love to hear if any of our listeners do still play it, if they've encountered this problem, and like if they want to talk about it, like send us an email or whatever, or message us on socials, because like it kind of made me want to install Team Fortress 2 just to see how bad it was.
I mean, have either of you guys ever played Team Fortress 2?
Super little, probably in like 2000.
Okay. Yeah, see, the only Valve game I've ever played is Portal. Like, I've never played any of the Half-Lifes or Team Fortress. Like, when I had Orange Box, the only thing I played on it was Portal.
I played a lot of original Counter-Strike and Source, and then I played Team Fortress 2 for a little bit. I wonder if I can find Fortress 2 on my 33 minutes I've played of Team Fortress 2.
Like, I think I actually own the Orange Box on PC from when I was at GameStop, and I don't think I've ever actually played any of the games on.
Mm-hmm.
No, according to Steam, like, none of them have ever been opened.
Yeah.
Whereas Team Fortress, yeah, I don't even know how long ago I bought them, because it unfortunately doesn't tell you that.
Half-Life 2, I played. No way. That's bull. Oh, maybe the other times I played it with Eric's save data. It says I only played Half-Life 2 for 7 hours, which is
You
bullshit.
also might have played it before Steam kept log of that.
Probably.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, because I didn't do that that long.
Yeah, because like I know I've played more than 152 hours of Counter-Strike Source.
That's
or 40 minutes, and I've definitely played more than 40 minutes of base ass Counter-Strike. I've probably played more like 4,000 hours of base ass Counter-Strike.
You've played maybe 15 minutes. Let's be real.
The rest of the time you were being killed by bots. My big game back in the day was Day Defeat Source. I loved that.
You know what? I guess I did play a couple of those when we used to go to that.
The Bleeding Edge.
Yeah, but
yeah, the Bleeding Edge, man.
Are those actually like Counter-Strike's not a Valve game, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Is it?
It
Okay,
is.
I wasn't sure.
Yep.
That's why there's only been Counter-Strike and Counter-Strike Source and no Counter-Strike 3 because Valve doesn't do threes.
Well, there's Global Offensive to be the third, but none of them are numbered. So
Then Counter-Strike Source is just a graphical update. It's not a sequel, and so it would be Counter-Strike Source / Counter-Strike and Global Offensive because Valve doesn't do threes, man. Does not do threes.
Valve doesn't really do games, so
I mean they used to do games.
Yeah, but it's been 15 years.
Well, how long ago was Portal 2?
10 years.
Okay, so it's been 10 years.
And I mean, to be fair, they did Half-Life Alyx, but
yeah,
that was to
and
sell their hardware.
And again, not a 3. Freaking Valve. I just want freaking Half-Life 3. That's all I want in my life.
But
instead of
it wouldn't even be good anymore.
Instead of getting Left 4 Dead 3, we're getting Back 4 Blood, and it's not even from Valve at this point. But I do want a Half-Life 3 because if I remember correctly, they left Half-Life 2, even with Episode 1 and 2, they left Half-Life 2 open for more.
I'm pretty sure they left stuff open on Episode 2.
There was supposed to be an Episode 3.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, including Episode 1 and 2, like, they left it open for more. And it's just like, I go back to those games from time to time, because I loved Half-Life 2 that much. Maybe I'll play those on stream one day.
There you go. Something different.
Yeah. But yeah, check out that Reply All episode. What did I say it was? It's still open on my phone. It was the episode I'm Not a Bot. It's number 178. Check that out if you want to just listen to a very interesting story about Team Fortress 2 and about bots and how pretty much if you go to play Team Fortress 2, a lot of the people that are playing aren't doing it for the lulz. They're doing it just because.
That's fair. So I'm just going to very quickly talk about this. I watched the show Eden's Zero. It's the creator of Fairy Tail. It's his next series. Hiro Mashima, I want to say is how you say his name. It's basically Fairy Tail in space. Like, the characters are all there are literally 2 characters that are just Fairy Tail characters.
Okay.
There is Happy the blue cat from Fairy Tail is literally in this show, just it's a different Happy. I think the only difference is this one has a black tail and is actually a robot. But then one of the main characters from Fairy Tail, Urza, her name in Fairy Tail is Urza Scarlet. Her name in this show is Elise Crimson. Identical like character design though. Like is definitely just this character was made for both. It's kind of a neat show though. It's a group of people like any anime on a spaceship trying to find like the god of space essentially. And in order to do that, they have to get together these 4 robots that actually power the ship they have that all kind of scattered to the wind. Because the ship actually used to belong to a demon king who is the adoptive grandfather of like the main character. And rather than them having magic powers like in Fairy Tail, they have these I forget exactly what they call them, but they basically have like different like unique abilities to them. Like the main character can control gravity. One of the other characters can create like this like energy sword. It's like just weird stuff like that. The only real problem with the show is it's a little too heavy on like the fan service stuff. Like lots of like just unnecessary like slow motion like pans on the females.
Yeah.
And like that's enough to make it kind of like I'm just going to watch one of these right now and I'll come back to the rest later. It's on Netflix though. It was Netflix purchased the streaming rights, so rather than it releasing weekly like it would if it was picked up by like Funimation or Crunchyroll, it's just being released in batches every so often. So I think it's like up to like the 25th or 6th episode overall, but Netflix just dropped the first 12. So in 6 months they'll probably drop the next 12.
Yeah, it sounds about right. That's on Netflix. That sounds like an interesting anime. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, like other than like I said, some of the just unnecessary fan servicey stuff, like it's a really cool concept, and I think these characters are a little more interesting than the ones from Fairy Tail. Like the side characters, I should say, are a little interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll just real quick mention that because it was a good show. Like I enjoyed it for the most part.
Nice.
But I guess that brings us to Shang-Chi.
Yes. This is going to be probably full on spoilers. Actually, I've got somebody within ear distance, so I'm probably going to keep down for the spoilers.
No, we'll go quick because we're already at like 2 hours. And we'll try to steer clear of spoilers for the most part.
Yeah.
But what did you think of it?
I thought it was very good. I enjoyed it. After I saw it, one of the people I was with asked, like, what would you rate it? And he was like, I'd probably go an 8 out of 10. And I was like, I'm about there. My biggest complaint is the pacing. It could have been maybe 20 minutes shorter. And it was kind of paced a little too for me. Like, but other than that, the villain was great. The characters were great. The story was fantastic. The action was awesome. And just like, I really enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I thought it was really well done. But you're right though. Like the pacing was a little off. Like there are definitely some things they could have shortened and tightened up a little bit. But like overall, like I think the cast was really good. It's one of the few Marvel movies with a villain that actually matters.
Yeah.
And it really seems like they're getting better with their solo film villain. Because like Black Panther was another one where like, and I guess it's not all the solo films because like the Black Widow villain was pretty shitty too. But just some of these movies, I guess I don't even know how to describe it. Some of these more like quote unquote smaller scale ones, just the villains just get more and they're more integrated into the story. They're not just like they're not the maniacal mustache twirling villain like you had with like Mickey Rourke in fucking Iron Man 2 or Jeff Bridges in Iron Man.
Yeah. Like this villain actually had heart and like you felt empathetic for them. Like it's one of those villains where you sit there and you're like, I'm kind of on their side, but I'm not. Like I kind of feel for them, but I also don't. Kind of thing.
Yeah, like it definitely wasn't like I said, it wasn't like a mustache twirling like, oh, they're a bad guy, like you know they're a bad guy, like everything they're doing is evil. It's like, okay, no, like they're not a good guy, but like there's a reason they're doing what they're doing, and it's at least somewhat understandable.
And I went into this. I'm not a big fan of Awkwafina. I don't
like her either.
Her voice is kind of annoying, and like she's just one of those people that I'm just like, I don't hate her. I'm just like, I could be without her.
Yeah.
But she was good in this. She was really good in this. I enjoyed her parts. Her timing and everything was good. She redeemed herself in my eyes as an actress and as an entertainer to be like, all right, maybe I should check out some of the other stuff.
Yeah, like that movie had a very good cast because it had the act I'm forgetting names, but the actress that plays Shang-Chi's aunt and his dad are both like really well-known Asian actors that like are in like Asian cinema and American cinema, like, and have been for decades. So like they brought that little bit of like that Jeff Bridges like gravitas to like the movie.
Yeah. So Tony Leung Chu Wai was the Mandarin, and
there you go. Thank you. Oh, you still there?
Oh,
we lost Richie.
Yeah, looks like it.
There was like a weird noise too, so I don't know if his computer just broke. I mean, Jensen was banging away in the back for like the last hour, so who knows what happened. Well, I'm just going to keep rambling about Shang-Chi for a second.
Yeah, you ramble because I haven't seen it and know absolutely nothing.
So I think you actually might like this one. I know you're like, you can be hit or miss with like the superhero movies.
Yeah.
But this one, it's got really good like fight choreography. It's very much like that, like it's martial arts. So it's not, just it's not brawling the way a lot of this stuff is, or the over the top acrobatics like Spider-Man tends to be.
Okay.
Richie's power went out.
Yeah, I was gonna say storms were supposed to be going by. I have no idea if they did or not,
but yeah. So one of the really cool things that I noticed, at least, his whole neighborhood's out. Fuck. So when they're fighting, Shang-Chi was trained by his dad.
Okay.
And he has a very aggressive. Well, I should say from like the age of 7 up, he was trained by his dad. And his dad has like a very offensive, aggressive martial arts style.
Okay.
Shang-Chi's mother was from like one of those like mystical hidden villages that are like exists on like the edge of our universe and like another universe sort of deals, where like the realm is full of like weird mystical like Asian animals and stuff like that, like dragons and these cute little puff balls with wings and no heads. They have a very fluid, like defensive style. So it's a lot of I don't know. I'm sure there's an actual form of martial arts for both of them, but they show the mother and father fighting in like a flashback scene. And it's like very much like he jumps and throws like a very aggressive punch, and she just kind of like does that, like tilts her head to the side and like pushes his hand and like uses his own momentum to like throw him away, basically.
Okay.
So like, and it's a bunch of really well done fights like that, where there's definitely wire work involved, but it's not people like running up walls and like shooting fireballs or flying in suits of armor and shit. It's it could actually be like people could actually do most of this stuff.
Okay.
And there's a few over the top fights, like they fight on the side of like a skyscraper that has like scaffolding and stuff, which was like a cool one.
All right.
But like otherwise, like, it had good fight themes, and just the plot moved along for the most part. Like Richie said, there was a little bit of bad pacing where things could have either been trimmed down or cut entirely. But it worked, and there were some good Marvel cameos in there that I didn't expect to happen. Like small spoiler, cause he's been in trailers. Wong from Doctor Strange is in it a couple of times, and just like real kind of quick little scenes.
Okay.
Which is nice because that like he's just a fun character, and the more movies he's in, the better.
Yeah.
Because I actually saw something online. That actor has officially been in more Marvel movies as his character than any DC actor has been in any DC movies.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, they did a very good job with this, and it definitely felt smaller and more contained than any of these movies have in a long time.
Okay.
Because this character's not connected to anybody yet.
Sure.
Like when you think about it, so I'm trying to think what were the last solo movie would have been Black Widow, which she already has a huge history with everybody.
Right.
And then like before that, it might have been Black Panther. And by the time his movie came around, he had already been in Captain America and sort of established as part of this larger nation. And like, it was already pretty big. Like in Shang-Chi, like he's a fucking valet driver in San Francisco when the movie starts.
Okay.
Like he's not a millionaire. Like he doesn't really have anything going on. His dad was a criminal, like a crime boss in China, and his dad had mystical powers.
Okay.
And his dad met his mom and then gave up those powers to be with the mother.
Okay.
And then when his mother dies, he like takes his powers back and kind of like segues back into a life of crime. Sure. Whereas like Shang-Chi didn't want that. Like, so when he was old enough, he kind of ran away and like changed his name to Sean, which not very good, like name change from Shang to Sean. They actually make fun of him for that in the movie.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And just tries to like separate himself from that. And it, that doesn't work.
Does it connect much to any of the Marvel shows that happened, or?
So not really, not at least the new ones.
Okay, good. Like, because that's like where my burnout started to happen. Was there was just fucking too much, and it felt like if you missed any one thing, like you got fucked on knowing things.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think. So there is a scene in the early half of the movie where he goes to this place with a bunch of fights happening. And there are two characters fighting in this place that are very cool cameos from older MCU stuff.
Okay.
Which is like it's a cool, like, if you know it, you know it. If you don't, it actually doesn't hurt the story in any way, shape, or form. It's just like a cool, like, hey, I know those guys.
Sure.
And then the mid-credit scene is where it's like, okay, hey, these guys are actually going to be part of this bigger thing now.
Okay.
And there's actually the closest tie this movie has to the rest of the MCU is to Iron Man 3, actually.
Okay.
So in general, Iron Man, I don't know if you remember, so in the very first Iron Man, the people that capture Tony at the beginning of the movie and force him to make a bomb for them that he instead makes a suit of armor.
Okay.
They are called the 10 Rings, and they have like the 10 rings behind them.
Okay, right.
Yeah. And this movie is called Shang-Chi and the Legend of the 10 Rings. So in this, we actually find out what the 10 Rings are.
Okay.
And that's actually, I mean, spoilers again, that's his dad's power. His dad's power comes from the 10 Rings.
Okay.
In the comics, there's a character called the Mandarin, which is that's who Ben Kingsley was pretending to be in Iron Man 3.
Right.
And that's sort of that bit where there was this character pretending to be the Mandarin in Iron Man 3. It's kind of where the tie comes into this movie.
Okay.
Because this movie he does not go by the Mandarin, but there's a character that is who that was based off of, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not like you don't have to have seen Iron Man 3 or even really remember it, but if you do, there's like little bits and pieces where it's like, yeah, this guy did this thing, and it was fucking insulting, but he's dead now. Iron Man blew him up.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, they did a good job with it, though. And it's worth, like, if you want to go to a movie, it's worth going to see. I will say, don't go to a movie tavern anymore. They're not good.
No.
Actually, I mean, honestly, you guys would probably be fine. I don't know if it's a COVID-related thing, or
probably, but
because they were also right before COVID or right after they were purchased by another company, Marcus Theaters. So you don't go to movietavern.com anymore. You go to like Marcus Theaters and find the movie tavern from their website.
Okay.
They changed their menu a whole bunch. There's literally nothing on the menu Erica can eat now. Every single item on that menu has meat in it.
That sucks.
Yeah, it's like all like shitty stuff. Like it's like chicken sandwiches and like all the salads have like chicken or bacon in them. So like, yeah, you could remove that stuff, but there's a chance they'd bring it out wrong anyway. The only thing that you could do is they do the personal pizza. So she could do like a personal pizza and just get like vegetables on it. But like, who the fuck wants to eat a personal pizza in a movie theater?
Right.
Because they used to have like the caprese flatbreads and stuff like that for her, and a handful of other stuff. Because they actually used to advertise that they have vegetarian and gluten-free options. Now their gluten-free option is they have a gluten-free pizza dough, I think, or a salad. Like, yeah, it's not great. Plus, I mean, like half the enjoyment of going there was like, you know, you'd get there early, you'd order food, they bring it out to you. Now you have to do all of that before you go, or order it at the counter because they're not doing actual table service anymore. They're just bringing the food out to you.
Okay. Yeah,
so like we had to go onto and they even have like a thing on like all the things. It's like, hey, scan here to download our app so that you can order stuff online. And then we will eventually bring it out to you.
Mm-hmm. So that's definitely a COVID-related thing.
That 100% is, and that I totally understand. But it's just like when your menu sucks now, and you took that part away from it. Like now, like why am I going to drive an hour to a movie theater when I can go have the exact same experience of just getting popcorn and a soda at the AMC?
Yeah, I was going to say, not going to lie, I was not super impressed the one time movie tavern with like their selection of stuff.
I mean, like, some of theirs, like, I like the fried pickles they have there.
Sure.
And they had, they still have them. The crispy chicken chipotle sliders were actually very tasty. They were on, like, the Hawaiian buns, so, like, the semi-sweet buns. And they were a little spicy, but not too spicy. They were just very good. But, like, yeah, like, they're nothing special.
Yeah.
And it's, like, for how far away they are to then take away... So they also, they don't do the giant beer steins anymore.
Okay.
Well, like, understandably, because people would bring those in and they don't want to do refills on stuff like that. And they don't have, like, the milkshakes and stuff like that on the at least on the menu anymore. Like, their dessert section was, like, churros and candy.
Weird.
Yeah, so it's just, you know.
Yeah, like, if it was, like, an extra 10 minutes to get there versus getting to, like, just the fucking AMC in Deptford, that would be one thing. But for the hour and 10, 15 minutes it takes to get there. Yeah, no, fuck that.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's honestly not any better than the shitty AMC dine-in Philly.
Yeah.
So yeah, like and honestly, when I was looking online, like AMC, because people aren't going to the movies, all their tickets are like on sale. Like they have like a discount on tickets right now. So it's like, yeah, like if I'm going to go to a movie, I'm just going to go to AMC. I'm not going to. Yeah. So initially it was just like, well, let's go see Shang-Chi. Like, let's go out. Movie Tavern has like nobody has like the theater's basically empty right now. Let's go out there. And it wasn't until like we already bought the tickets and we're getting ready to leave that we realized that there was just nothing on the menu for Erica. So we ended up just getting like popcorn and like pickles.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Shang-Chi is definitely worth seeing. I think Eternals and then Spider-Man are next as far as Marvel movies go. So we'll see how those do.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably the end of the show.
Yeah.
And Richie will be gone next week. He's on vacation. The week after that is when we're going to do Top Gear for our next book club. It was episodes 9 and 10 of season 22, the Patagonia special. And then episode 3 of season 21, which is the Chernobyl, Ukraine episode. They're all available on HBOMax and I think a few other places. I'll link like the Just Watch links to both of them in the episode notes.
Sounds good.
Other than that, though, you can go ahead and find more of our content over at www.one-quest.com. You can also help us out by supporting us at patreon.com/onequest. If you can't support us there with dollars, though, you can go to your favorite podcast platform like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, all those places. Rate us, review us, subscribe to us. Those things all help a whole lot. You can also find us on social media. We're facebook.com/onequestonline or at @1_quest on Twitter and Instagram. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/onequestvideo. And you can always send us an email to social@one-quest.com. But other than that, we'll be back next week with something else to talk about. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.